Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to For Anyone Who Cares. Thank you much.
Beautiful.
Thank you much.
Thank you much.
Thank you much.
Thank you much.
Thank you
Not a
much.
little. Much.
Not so much. Just thank you much. Just take
you
that
much.
and escalate from there.
Thank you much,
Okay, take two. Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to For Anyone Who Cares. I'm Sean.
I'm Tom. You know who we are now.
Hmm?
You know who we are now.
Yeah, you know at this point.
Just, yeah.
Let's skip the preamble. We're not going to give you our credentials at this point.
He's an actor. I'm a director. We both make films and we both talk about films and other shit too.
And other shit too.
Yeah.
So, it's been a long while.
Yeah.
A lot of media has been consumed by the pair of us in the interim between this and whatever the hell we released.
What we were doing.
Yeah.
What we were doing in between.
Yeah, the inconsistency of our uploads.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoy a podcast every 6 years.
Yeah, exactly. The next podcast will be on the verge of nuclear war.
Yeah.
As people are ducking into bunkers.
Yeah.
Be like, oh look, they've updated.
Oh my god, Putin's about to go crazy, but meanwhile, they're finally going to give us their opinion on Death Stranding.
On cats.
Oh my god, on cats, yeah. Fucking cats. What a glorious mess that is. Anyway.
Alright Sean, so we have a very big list, obviously. We've been away for a very
too big a list.
We've been away for a very long time. So we promised ourselves we'd start with films first.
Yes.
So I'll run through the list of stuff that we've watched.
Mm-hmm.
Minari, Another Round, The Father, The Last Duel, The Green Knight, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Cats. Although I feel Cats deserves its own 5-part epic.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I think Cats, is an exclusive thing to go over.
Yeun, Northman, Bell, The Batman. No.
The Batman. John Batman.
Nope. Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange 2, which I guess we would just combine into one big Marvel fuck you.
Yeah.
For just fucking being boring.
Marvel sludge.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to watch it no matter what, so fuck you.
Fuck you. What are you fancying?
I guess we just start chronologically.
Okay, well then the first one up is Minari. And let's do it really quickly.
Yeah.
Let's do all the deets.
Mm-hmm.
Minari.
Like who directed it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
who worked in it, who deserves praise and all this sort of shit. So it was directed by Lee Isaac Chung and it was starring Stephen Young.
Mm-hmm.
Please forgive me for the pronunciations of Korean names, but Youn, Han Yi-ri, and Alan S. Kim, Will Patton, Noel Cho, and Esther Moon.
Okay.
There you go. Now, Sean, tell me who played who.
Yeah, thank God you said it first. Yeah. Minari. A lovely film.
Yeah.
Very gentle. In a very slow-paced, very softly... a soft slice of life with a nice bit of hardship to balance it out. A kind of nice vibe of the culture clash without making it the crux of the film. It was much more about the family.
Yeah.
But God, it's been so long. It's literally
been so long. To summarize it, it's about a Korean family that move over to the States. They usually work upstate where they do chicken sexing. But the father, Stephen Young's character, saves up enough money and he wants to fulfill his dream, which is to buy a farm. And so they move downstate to this kind of place. I can't remember the state, sorry. But Stephen Young his character buys a farm in the middle of nowhere, and his dream is to essentially make his own farm, have his own land, and be his own boss. And he reluctantly drags his family along for the ride, who were very happy where they were, in order to pursue what he believes is the American dream. And essentially the film is just them trying to accommodate both his dream and trying to realise their dream. But things get a little bit mixed up when the wife's grandmother has to come and live with them because she's widowed, I believe, and she has to come over and live with them in the States. So everything's going great, except it's not, because it's very under the surface resentment from everyone involved.
A lot of a subtle...
Yeah. And grandma comes along and essentially, I wouldn't say it ruins the dynamic, but puts a lot of the dynamic into question.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of all the nits and... She basically puts stress on everything, and those little stress lines begin to crack in certain areas of their relationship and their family dynamic. So the things that were underlining become way more prevalent, and they kind of turn into very big problems.
Yeah. Like, the problems were already there, and the mother's acerbic, blunt nature. Not being horrible, but the grandmother's kind of, I suppose, honesty. Yeah. Emotional as well as social honesty.
Yeah, she's...
So brings that to surface. They're in Arkansas. Or Arkansas. As anyone will read as. Because, you know...
Why are you Arkansas?
Why are you so going?
Fucking Arkansas! You're a bit of Yosemite?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, let me judge you from an uninformed culture standpoint.
Fuck really? Really?
You're just making up sounds now. Yeah, this isn't a real place. But yeah, as I was saying before, my vibe, a lovely, gentle film that deals with very real issues in a very slow burn, kind of a delicate way. Like, these things build up. I mean, it starts from the beginning. Like, as soon as they get to their new plot of land, and Yuan's character is like, yeah, look at this place. His wife is like, what the
fuck have you done, mate?
Yeah, they're living
and it's like, they walk into the trailer, it's like, oh, the water's not running, great. Great start.
We've moved from checking chickens' testicles into, you know, this fucking shit out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all, like you say, it's that kind of reflection of him wanting to pursue the American dream.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't even know if it's so external, but him not realising, like, the complications and the factors of risk and luck, especially at the end, which we'll get to, but, like, the things that can go wrong along the way and how that affects the people around you and how much are you willing to burn through, I suppose, that family credit score. That sense of support and reliability.
Absolutely.
Over time that he's expending like it's like he's a Californian with a credit card who's been given free reign for a month while parents are away, kind of thing.
It's like he keeps, and what I love about it is that it's very much the immigrant story, and I imagine a lot of like immigrants who went to America felt the same thing, that they came from very hardship. Like, he comes from Korea, and I think the film is set in the sort of like 80s or 70s, I believe. I think it's sort of set in that kind of
like soft period between. I want to say 80s.
So the whole point is, like, they came from Korea in that time, and it's so weird to think that, like, you know, back then disparity of wealth over the world was so different. Like, you think about the 80s in America compared to Britain. You know, 80s in America, like, bam, 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 everyone's taking cocaine, everyone's going crazy. 80s, like, we're just people cooking grub. In a kitchen sink in Norfolk, in Northampton, and times are tough.
It's tough.
It's tough here. It's tough. And in France, like, there's a crazy, like, you know, party revolution.
We've just discovered electro.
And then, like, you go to, like, again, like, Korea, like, the Korean War's just ended. Everyone's fucking poor as shit, and it's just like, whoa. And
why would we stay here?
And so, like, for him, like, moving to America, and for, like, it's such a huge deal. Yeah. And, you know, and what I love is that for him, it's like when they're sexing chickens, they're making money. And for him, that's really important. Like, the family is safe, we're making money. Yeah. And she is kind of like, but we've left our family behind. And I miss my family, and I really miss them. And I miss Korea, and I miss talking to my friends. But she's kind of like, okay, but like, you're right. We're making money, and our children are half, you know, they're Korean, but they're born in America. They're gonna grow up in America. They're gonna be really, you know, have a better standard of life. And then he gets sucked into the American dream, which is like this big thing, like, where anyone can make their fortune. And I feel it's a real big, like, message, and like, people got really sucked into that. Like people really got really sucked into this thing that you could go to America and you could just make your dream come true.
Yeah,
you can
like
make yourself
gold in the hills
exactly
kind of things. Like, it doesn't work
like that. Exactly.
Even hard work. Minari is exemplary in showing it's like they work so hard.
Yeah.
Everyone there. It's like it's not like they're not pulling their weight. It's not like they're deluded in terms of like the effort they're expelling. It's the result that comes back that is not paying off. It does not work like that.
No.
Because at the end of the day, it's a country like everywhere else.
Yeah.
It works.
It's hard shit, and you want to grow shit. Well, good luck. You got to get the plows out, and you got to find water and like.
Yeah. And the farmland he buys is.
It's like cursed.
Yeah, it's a fucking despot land, you know. Yeah. It's in a fucking Arkansas, Kansas, in like the Ozarks, I think. But like, this is not a place you would go to, you know.
No, exactly. And what's lovely is that like the film takes its time, a lot of time.
Yeah.
Finding the stretch. So like the whole point of what I feel like the whole point of the film is that it's just very gently tightening the strings until they snap near the end. But the whole point is like it just very gently and gradually tightens the strings, not in a tense way. You don't feel tense, but you're visibly watching the strain build and the hope dissipate more and more. Like there's so much hope at the beginning.
Yeah.
And she is so she's accommodating to it.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, like no, you're right. Like let's just give it a go. We'll live in a fucking trailer.
Yeah.
You know, but like the reasons he's there for are very hopeful. He's like, I want my children to grow up on a farm. I want them to grow up in nature. I don't want them. This
doesn't come from a selfish egotism of like, I'm going to be a big businessman. I'm going to make money, and people are going to write things about me. He's like, this guy made money. It's like, no, I want this for my family.
I want them to have their own land. I want them to have their own place in America where that's theirs.
Yeah.
I want them to, you know, that we grow our own food and like our children can be really proud of it. And it's funny actually, the director said that he made this film for his daughters, and he basically said like, I want them to know what kind of man I was and my father was. That's kind of like, it was just like, you know, I didn't want to like do a big message, but like this is where me and my father come from. We wanted this, and it wasn't always right, but I want my daughters to understand where I was coming from. I wanted them to understand why I made sacrifices and why I put us through such hardship.
Yeah.
Like I wanted them to see that, which is very, 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 like very poignant.
Yeah, no,
film
absolutely.
For it,
it's a thing any person with a reasonable degree of empathy can get behind. But like, it's almost like they come from two different places of love. Like his love comes. It's like, I want to do this for the sake of future, for the sake of security and stability, for the sake of my family in the future, and the immediate costs are worth the future benefits. And his wife, comes from more of an immediate affectation of like, but what does this mean to us now? How is this burning us now? Like, and again, she's not neggy, she's not pecking at him, she's not criticising or pulling at him. She's just aware of the here and now.
Yeah, she's just very protective.
He's
very
fantasising a better future for the sake of love. She's aware of the immediate present now for the sake of love. Yeah. But like, they're both, for me anyway, but like they're both very much doing it for the love of their children and the future. Like the children are a very big focus. They're not just props in the background of like, care about this family because he has a kid, so care because he has a thing to care for, so you should care. It's like, no, they're very much, you know, autonomous agents in the narrative themselves.
Yeah.
So much, it comes in several times, but it's like, he's almost blind to his family's immediate needs for the sake of their future needs. And it's that kind of compromise of, what are you going to sacrifice now to build tomorrow? And is it worth it, and will it pay off? Yeah. And
what can you sacrifice for the future to look after us now, basically? Yeah.
And he's all about the future and building and growing, not just in terms of legacy or his own egotism, but like, it's genuinely for his family in the here and now. But
it's funny,
what is the cost?
There's two moments where like both the characters get very emotional. This is before like the heavy stuff, the heavy shit happens at the end. But like, there's the first bit is when he finds water with who's the actor called the.
Don't ask me that.
No, okay.
You said his name.
Oh, I did. The fourth thing Will Patton.
I was going to say, that must be that guy.
Yeah. So when Will Patton turns up, and he's like this eccentric farmer, and they find water together, and he's doing the fucking stick.
Yeah, method. And this guy is like clearly burnt out from the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
like,
this guy's seeing shit.
Yeah, he's seeing God in places that he wouldn't be. You know, this guy, he needs help. Yeah, but he's not a bad person. He's a very.
No, he's not. He's just vulnerable. He's just a bit.
Maybe that's the thing, is that it's just vulnerability. They're all vulnerable.
Yeah, he kind of needs Stephen Young to like look after him and hire him as a farmhand, because he needs to be back in that care. Basically.
Yeah, that structure or sense of purpose, I suppose.
But like he finds the water with the stick, and Stephen Young is very anti-supernatural, and he's like, you're not going to find water. And he's like, he tells his son, he's like, what? He's like, you're a Korean, like you film like a Korean. He's like, where's the water going to be? What does water do? It flows downhill, so where would the water be? On the lowest point. Exactly. Use your brain. Don't use the stick. And he finds water with his son, and that's it, because he finds water with his son first before he finds it with the stick. So he finds water with his son, and he's so elated, like he gets water for free, and he's like, the plan is coming together.
Yeah,
I was right. I'm going to think my way. Yeah. And when she gets really emotional is when her grandmother comes over, and she just brings over kimchi. Yeah. And she's just like, she actually cries. She's like, drive anchovy heads, and like bursts into tears, and she's like, why are you getting so upset? Because it's like, how much have we given to be here, and how much she misses like that comfort of family. Yeah. Because imagine in Korea, it wasn't a very very like rich life, but they had very family, they had comforts, and they had each other. Yeah. But now they're kind of like in a trailer in the middle of nowhere. He's off in the fucking farm doing his thing. Yeah, the thing that really breaks her. In a
strange land.
Yeah, and the thing that really breaks her is like just a mother coming over and old food that reminds her of growing up and comfort.
Yeah, the simplest immediacy of like emotional attachment. Yeah, which he like loses sight of, which comes back again. Yeah. In the end of the film, which.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Am I jumping the gun?
No, I mean, if we're just gonna sort of like breeze through them. Like, I mean, like one of the main points of the film is that the son has a medical condition. He has a hole in his heart. He has a murmur, which means that he can't exercise. And I think that plays on both of their minds. I think it's the reason why the dad wants to bring him out to the countryside, because he's like, I think the pollution's really bad as well. Again, they're all from like places of love. Yeah. And she's like, I think we shouldn't have taken away from the city. Like, he needs a hospital nearby. He needs infrastructure to take him to the hospital if he's in danger. So that's a really big crux point. And then there's obviously the grandma comes over, and the grandma is kind of like that chaotic neutral where she's just in between everything. Yeah. She doesn't care. She's like, who cares if your son runs around the field and does nothing, and like. Who cares if the mum wants to take him to church, to do the, don't shout at your son and stuff like that. Like, she just
little cowboy boots.
Oh, I know.
Cowboy boots. That film made me broody. Like, those kids. Yeah. That little boy is so fucking adorable.
Yeah, they're both brilliant. Yeah. And also that's the good thing. Like, the two child actors are great. Like, great. Yeah. I'd say they are a little bit stilted on some delivery, but that's like expected. Like, the actors, the three actors, the mum, the dad, and the grandma are like heavyweights. I know the grandma has been loads of Korean drama. She's like huge
she's
in KTV.
Kind of a big fucking deal.
Same as the mum as well. Apparently, she's like really big star in Korea. Like, they've both done a lot. And then Stephen Young, he's like really coming of age now in his career, and like, you're obviously going to have like the kid, but they do a really, really, really good job. Yeah. Like, a very, very solid job.
It's just a wonderfully focused family drama set in a specific time drop, exploring a particular kind of era, theme and vibe, but very much focused on the family. It's not trying to tell you anything overall. It's not trying to philosophize on you or even present a certain scenario for you to think about. It's just not in terms of a wider scale thing. It's just presenting you these people in their situation, how they're struggling for it, and letting you kind of think for yourself. It doesn't talk down to you, and it doesn't lead you by the hand.
No, it just tells a story, and it says, you want to come along for the ride, basically.
Yeah. Just a simple...
The best thing I heard is after we watched the film, me and Fiona waiting for my dad to get out of the toilet, and this old woman came out. And me and Fiona were like, wasn't that lovely? Wasn't that beautiful? And this old woman came out and she went, wasn't it just lovely?
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah, it was really lovely. She went, I could have watched that forever. I went, yeah, no, I feel the same. She was like, I could have watched that forever. Like, that was just so wonderful. So beautiful. And that's like it, like that film, I could have watched it forever. I could have just watched their life play out, and it was so naturally intrusive into their lives. Like, you just felt that you were just a guest or a part of the furniture, just kind of just sitting with them. And you know, it's funny actually. So the title Minari, someone had a theory about it. So the whole reason the film's called Minari is that the grandmother brings over Minari seeds, and this is kind of like a freshwater weed, kind of plant that grows in rivers and streams, and it's kind of like watercress in the UK. I don't know what the equivalent is over the world, but like it's kind of like watercress. It's like a natural, you can eat it, but what it does is it she sort of like tends to it in this part of the creek on their land. And what someone said to me was that so the Koreans love Minari because they sort of add it to kimchi and other dishes, but what it does is it naturally draws out toxins and dirt from rivers, so it cleanses the water stream. So a lot of people grow Minari to clean the water, and people think that's kind of a metaphor for the grandmother coming along and basically draws out the toxicity in a very,
that's beautiful.
Very, I would say, aggressive way. She's like I say, she's a force of nature.
Yeah.
But she makes them realise what's important. Like, she's the one who says that he should run. Stop asking your son not to run. You know, he's the guy, he like runs and he has to stop. The kid has to stop, he's got a murmur, and she's like, just let him, like, he'll figure it out. Don't worry, like, he'll run. You know, if he needs to take a break, he'll take a break. Don't have to like smother him the whole time.
Yeah.
And she's actually, you know, when they sort of figure out that the couple are no longer going to be together because the stress gets way too much.
Yeah.
And there's a point where, like, they're going to take the son to a hospital, but actually he's also booked an appointment to see a seller for vegetables, and she's like, I can't fucking do this. Like, I'm sorry, like, we're taking our son to the hospital and you're still thinking about the fucking farm and the hope and the future. But while this is all happening, the mother is at home and she starts that fire that burns down the barn and all their produce.
She's trying to like burn away some residue, some nonsense like that.
Yeah, and she's
had a stroke.
Yeah, so she's very vulnerable. Yeah, so the mother has, so this tour de force nature has a stroke and she becomes very vulnerable, and it's a really shock to the film because like the breath of fresh air in the whole film becomes this very stagnant, very vulnerable character. But she's also, in her vulnerability, makes everyone kind of appreciate how frail everything is.
It's almost like a wildfire.
Yeah.
Particularly at the end, you know, the actual fire theme itself, but like it burns everything down. He has all these vegetables ready to go,
but he doesn't care.
Stephen Yeun, the dad, has worked so hard getting all this stuff ready, and this huge accident happens that just destroys all of that work. But it's that emphasis of like we're still together, we still have each other.
And he goes in not for the vegetables, but because the wife, the first thing that she does, she goes, we've got to save the vegetables. So he realises like shit, no, she is invested, she does care. Then he goes in to get her out, and there's that moment you actually do think like this is the kind of film where I would actually expect them to die.
Yeah.
But they don't. They get each other out, and they're all together at the end, aren't they?
They just watch it all burn down.
Yeah. But it's like
they watch all that progress and hard work physically, that physical hard work burn down, but they're all together
and they're all safe. Yeah.
And they've all kind of they've all kind of reached an equilibrium.
Yeah, they like reset together, and then the next day, Patton's character comes along, helps him rebuild. Yeah, and it's like
life isn't a straight line; it's a series of like circles that fills in on each other again and again and again.
Yeah, and that was what was just so lovely about it. Also, one of the most brutal breakup scenes I've ever watched.
Oh god, yeah.
Fucking hell.
In the car park.
Yeah,
that's such a bland, dull.
But that's why it's so real.
Environment.
It's just in the corner of a car park, and they have a little word with each other. The kids are in the car, and they just divorce each other.
Yeah, essentially.
And it's
Which
so.
Is like, there's something where it's like if you're going to keep this nonsense up, and it is nonsense at that point, which is like if you're going to keep this nonsense up, like like, I can't do this. We've got to be done. And he just says, I can't remember what it is, but he's like, then I think we're done.
Yeah.
And her reaction.
Yeah, just tear rolls down her face.
Clutches at her face. Not melodramatically.
No, she kind of thought for that one little moment he might try and fight.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He accepts it, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But
lovely film, simple.
Yeah.
In so many ways in terms of plot and themes, but execution is so nicely done.
Yeah.
It's such
spot on.
It's such a gently executed film that grips you so hard in terms of empathy, because it spends time earning this and working it up and making you feel where all these people come from, that when these little moments come that are kind of little in the scale of things, they matter so much.
Yeah.
Because these people matter so much to each other. The acts that they do are not great, incredible or amazing things. He's not even like pulling off the American dream. If anything, they kind of fucking fumble it, but they fumble it together.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing of watching everyone's points come together. Even with the grandma, where it's like, you fucking burnt down our whole livelihood, essentially. But there's never, ever a moment where anyone throws an accusation
or gets angry at her. They're just like, you're alive. That's all that matters. Yeah.
Including him.
Yeah.
You know? He's
Absolutely.
not so far gone. He's not beyond reason. He really... Again, this comes from love. Like, he's not doing this for his ego. He really is doing it because he loves his family.
Yeah.
You know? And it's such a lovely... Yeah, it's such a lovely culmination that essentially ends in... Essentially, in terms of plot, it ends in a failure.
Yeah. It's a big failure. Yeah.
It ends in failure. In terms of emotion, it ends in such success
triumph, yeah.
and triumph. They come back together stronger than ever.
Yeah,
almost.
Absolutely.
And who knows where they go from there? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they've had that moment, that realisation, that rock bottom together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great to see, I guess, like, some of the themes of it, like, culture shock has done really well in it.
Yeah,
there's some really lovely,
not on the nose,
no,
not
very,
gently, but so
it is.
subtly.
Yeah, there's just little moments where like they just don't really click, him and the locals, and he's trying his hardest.
Yeah, it's that lovely. What is it? It was like you're crazy, American man. It's just this weird thing where they're having like fun, but it's also like, no, this guy's fucking weird. Because also it's not just because there's a culture shock. It's also like, no, this guy is actually particularly
he's fucking
like
mad.
Damaged from a war. You know, your culture itself has been not just Vietnam, but like the Korean War. It's like your culture itself has actually experienced. You're both coming from a different perspective of this thing.
Yeah.
Like, he was a stranger in a strange land there.
Yeah.
Now you're a stranger in a strange land here. You've both been to the same spot. I don't know if the film's intentionally trying to do that, but I'm pretty sure with the framing and the time device, it's like, I'm pretty sure drawing parallels here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's, you know, it'd be very weird that you happen to have these people meet each other at this point. He's not a huge character, that eccentric guy, but like, he's still important. He's very important. Still informs them. I mean, he's the one that gives Yuan hope.
Yeah, and he teaches him how to grow properly.
Yeah.
You know, he says like, so you got to grow him like this, and he's like, that's the Korean way. We're in America now, man. We grow big. We grow big here. And he's like, you got to trust me. And he's like, okay. All right,
yeah.
And it works. Like, it works. They grow really big together. And again, like the day, like, he's there to help them pick up the pieces.
Nothing he's ever asked for.
He's like the proper good Samaritan.
Yes.
Yeah, like, he's a bit worn and torn, but he's just, again, like you said, like, you know, he was in a strange land, and now he's just there to kind of be a kind of nomad to help them.
Yeah. They're both lost together. Yeah.
Any criticisms for it?
Not really. Not that I can think of.
Too mushy.
too much feeling.
Too many feelings in there.
I suppose if I was being really nitpicky, although, again, this has been a very long one, maybe a bit too long for what it is. You could shave off like 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's
maybe
some...
15. There's some excess in there.
Yeah.
In terms of like, oh, there's a nice scene. It's like, I got this 3 scenes ago. You didn't need this per se, but... You know, it depends on what you want. This film is a slow, gentle thing, but for me, I prefer to just get things through as efficiently as possible. It doesn't mean you have to cut out the coldness or emotion either. I think they'll mistake that. It's just, yeah, I think this film is maybe 15 to 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, there was a scene where the kid goes around the other kid's house and the dad's kind of like making breakfast. I guess it was kind of show like what other families are like. So it's again like another culture shock of like this is how other families kind of are like in the area. Like the kid's just got his dad, he just makes him cornflakes, he's hungover as fuck, and he's like. But I was thinking at times like, surely this like we've already got a sense of that, and surely now we should be focusing on the dad and the mum's character.
Because Minari is not a film that is like it's like it expects you to think for it. So why are you spelling out?
Yeah,
things?
more.
I felt the same with the Chicken Factory when they go back. It's like I know what this is about. Why are we spending so much time here? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 10, 15 minutes too long for what it was.
Yeah.
As are most films these days.
Yeah.
Most of them are just too long.
Fill the quota.
Yeah. But, that's Minari.
That's Minari. That was a nice summary.
Yeah.
All in all, I think one of my films of the year for that year that came out. I know for you it was the next film that's coming up, but but I love that very gentle kind of...
Yeah, it holds you gently but firmly.
Yeah, exactly.